representing Code to Inspire. Fereshte was supposed to be here, but she couldn't make it. She's kind of like my sister. I mean, not by blood, but she's kind of like my sister. And together, we've been working on this nonprofit we call Code to Inspire for, well, this is our 11th year. And I'll tell you a little bit about Fereshte and a little bit about the foundation that we've set up. So she is wonderful. Actually, she recently became an American citizen, which is fantastic. She's originally from Afghanistan and was a refugee during the Soviet war, or the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. She grew up in Iran. Eventually, she made her way to Berlin and she got her computer science degree. And then she went back to Afghanistan and started teaching. She started teaching girls how to code. And then, of course, the Taliban tried to, blow her up a couple times. So she ended up a refugee in the United States, and we met 2014 in Washington, D.C. at the Bitcoin in the Beltway conference. Actually, we were carpooling from New York City to D.C., and she told me all about it, and I said, wow, this is incredible. I mean, she told me all about her vision. And so that's kind of how Code to Inspire started. So part of what I'll talk about here is what we're doing, but I guess we're also probably at this point the longest running Bitcoin, and later we started adopting Ethereum and other tokens, but cryptocurrency based nonprofit. And we've been using Bitcoin and stable coins in unique ways for many years. So yeah, this is a little bit of a depressing fact. And I guess probably in your periphery, or maybe some of you are very, very well aware of what's recently transpired in Afghanistan over the last couple of years, but now we're sort of in a situation where the Taliban is back in full force, and so the regressive policies are now taking hold across the country. And this is kind of one of the bigger issues, which is that young girls and women are banned from education. So, yeah, like Fereshte for a very long time has been thinking about this problem given her personal experience. And yeah, so we kind of started Code to Inspire 10 plus years ago. We built the first coding school for girls in Afghanistan. These laptops, so this is some of our students in our classroom in Herat, which is the westernmost city of Afghanistan. And we actually smuggled these laptops into the country. It was quite an operation. In addition to laptops, we provide pretty much everything you would expect in a classroom. We also provide a stable internet connection and heat and whiteboards and so on. And we have a mentor-teacher program, so we have a group of mentors that deliver the curriculum. All of them have a background in computer science. And the cohorts of students has been growing every single year. So our first year, we had a handful of students, and this year, and at this point now, we have thousands of students. And so in the beginning, it was like this. The girls could actually go to a classroom. So yeah, just some stats. It's kind of like year 11. I think this might be a little bit outdated, and the number of students that have gone through the program is a bit higher. And the number of hired graduates who earn over $100 per month is a really important metric. So one of the things that we've been doing is not only delivering the curriculum, and the curriculum is free, but also on the other side, working to create a job and or entrepreneurial market, right? So job placement market and entrepreneurial opportunities for those who graduate and maybe want to create their own startups. And so it's very, very important that the girls have an opportunity to not only complete the program, but then earn an income. And $100 per month is a pretty important milestone because that puts them into sort of like a category where they're probably earning just as much, if not more, than some of the men in their family, which is very important because that starts to change the hearts and minds and attitudes of local people once they see that actually even the women in their family can earn a very good income. And actually, quite a number of them earn much more than that, but that's kind of like a baseline that we use to highlight this point. And then, of course, a third of them are actually the sole earners in their family, which further speaks to the need for not only education but more importantly, equal access and participation so that women can also not only get an education, but participate in the economy and society. Okay, so a problem versus a solution. So when you think about Afghanistan, there's lots of problems, and sometimes they can get overwhelming because you don't really know where to start, but you have to kind of break it down. So the first problem is, these decrees that come from the Taliban that basically restrict and limit, autonomy. And so that means not only the restrictions that apply to women in terms of going out and just getting a basic education, but if you wanted to do something as simple as go out and get a bank account, well, first of all, you can't leave the house without a male escort, and you need permission, and so on and so forth. So this will tie in a little while to how we've been using Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But essentially, autonomy is something that's very hard for women to find in Afghanistan at this time. And what we try to do is empower our students so that not only do they have access to an education, employment opportunities. Ultimately, we actually pay a lot of the girls with stable coins in the past with Bitcoin, and so they can earn an income, have custody over their money without needing permission, and so in a way they can have autonomy over themselves. Of course, it's very, very important that we can improve the well-being of our students, and that's really this like progression where they go through the program, where they learn, they're in a classroom environment where they have peers and they have friends, and then ultimately later they have jobs. And so, a lot of times in the West, we're used to kind of like economic growth numbers, but in a place like Afghanistan, we're kind of looking at economic loss. And so what we've been able to do up to this point is, and I think that's also a little bit outdated, but deliver economic benefit, which is to say that the income our students have earned over the years working, for example, as freelancers and or other opportunities they've been able to find through our program. And that number is starting to have some meaningful impact in our local community, and it's actually starting to accelerate right now. Okay, so I guess this is a pretty good crypto payments use case. It kind of reminds me of like the early days when, and one of the previous speakers sort of had a great cypherpunk quote. But it's very, very important. When you look at some of the challenges, and the challenges in Afghanistan are kind of like even more pronounced. I mean, in addition to kind of like standard KYC requirements, even being able to leave the house in many instances is really tough. But pretty much, these are all things that are like very fundamental as far as some of the conditions that our students are facing. And so the opportunity to just send them a transaction, and they have, they've got whatever Bitcoin or ETH or stablecoin or something else in their wallet. And then some of the other things that have happened in recent years is obviously local markets have grown, so there's these like informal on-off ramps where they can actually get local currency, but then more and more vendors are beginning to accept cryptocurrency, and we've actually even seen really interesting solutions where certain types of goods are imported into the country, for example, electronic goods, and then kept in a container, and then you can sort of like buy those goods with with USDT or with ETH or whatever. And so we have been working to build local marketplaces as well. So I guess, we kind of are in year 10. We started out really small, and over the years we've just continued to persist and continue to try and grow. And I guess throughout the crypto and blockchain ecosystem, we've had lots of interactions and I guess headlines and more awareness. So I really am very grateful that we even have this opportunity here at SCC. So we had a great case study with Binance with their charity program, and I have to give a shout out to CZ and his whole team. And well, I guess this is before when he was at Binance, but the entire Binance organization, they were fantastic. They came through. They were able to donate a sizable amount of money, and then together we were able to actually provide lots of relief to our students, ensure that we could get cryptocurrencies into their wallets. So throughout the pilot program, we kind of, collected some data just to try to understand some of the challenges, and basically cashing out my cryptocurrency was basically the biggest problem. The other problem was, and this is sort of like a new problem, keeping track of information. And this further speaks to the need for privacy, and I think sometimes in our ecosystem, and right now in Ethereum, the whole privacy is normal meme is starting to gain traction again, which I'm very happy about. But in Afghanistan, we've got like the Taliban now in control of all the infrastructure in the country and attempting to set up a type of NSA program where they can actually go in and collect information and then use that to target dissidents or people that are breaking the law, like girls who wanted to go to school. So privacy is very, 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 very important. I think we should continue to work in that direction. And there's a lot of instances of these kinds of critical needs for privacy around the world. And then just, kind of like some feedback in terms of we were able to distribute cryptocurrency to a broad range of students in the program, many of them, and some of the thoughts, some of their feedback as well in terms of biggest benefits and so on. And I think this kind of information is very important because it can help us further shape how we continue to build out Ethereum and how we continue to build out this ecosystem, because you can see privacy and security in an area where, actually this is fundamental and very, very critical, is like the #1 benefit that our students outlined. Okay, so one of the things that we've had to do recently was, as the Taliban took control again, they threatened us, and so we had to close the school, like the physical location, the actual school, and so we built an online platform, and we decentralized ourselves. And so I think we're also now turning into a bit of an interesting case study in decentralized education. And so we created a platform, and the students can log in. They can interact with our mentors, either in a live, video call session and/or a pre-recorded video, and then some like course material. And then there's forums, and they can ask questions and interact, and so on. We can then issue out certificates or digital accreditation once they complete the program. And of course, we can continue to use cryptocurrency to pay them once they go through the program and they find employment. We continue to smuggle in laptops and other computer equipment and those little internet dongles. We're hoping to, see very large uptake of Starlink, for example. And so we're really rapidly right now decentralizing ourselves. And as part of that, these are some of the core considerations, and definitely platform security and student data privacy. And so thinking about how we can ensure that someone has credentials to log into the platform without necessarily compromising who they are, even in the event of some, malicious actor like breaching the system somehow. Of course, zero knowledge proofs and attestations and some of the things we've been working on in Ethereum become very fundamental and critical for us. And then finally, we'd love to get more participation from everyone. And first of all, we want to thank everyone who's donated. We've received donations from the Bitcoin community, Ethereum community, and other communities, Solana community, and many others. And so we want to thank everyone who's contributed. Actually, our, let's say, current financial state in terms of our ability to continue on in this mission is largely attributed to the fact that we have Bitcoin from like 2014 and we have ETH from like 2015. We just haven't sold our crypto. In addition to individual donors and corporate donors. Spread awareness, get in touch with us, codeinspire.org. You can find us on Twitter. That's Foresh's email. Thank you very much. Yeah, any questions? Happy to take questions.
First of all, thank you for the presentation. Very interesting. I was looking at salaries. So you said over 70% of women get over $100 a month. I mean, of course, we know in crypto and even in tech in general, that's quite low compared to Western countries in which you could realistically be earning 100K a year. How feasible would it be for one of the students to actually reach some of these salaries that we can have over here?
Yeah, great question. So we have to. So the first thing to understand is we're starting from kind of zero. I mean, and basically war-torn conditions, and but like as they go through the program, they learn certain skills, and as they continue, maybe their skills get better and better. And so what we have noticed recently is some of the more senior students who have gone through the program and had experience are actually starting to see much better wages. But that's also largely a function of the extent to which we can build that end-sided marketplace where we deliver the education, but then also we have corporate partners and startups who are willing to hire the girls, you know, and pay them a reasonable wage. So that's kind of like a market function, and that's a part of our awareness campaign. I can say that in the past, you know, Consensus in the past, as an example, as a startup where I used to work, was very generous. Lots of Consensus folks hired the girls, and other projects as well, of course, Binance as well. And so the more awareness we can raise, the better we can elevate their skill sets and their experience, the more qualified they'll be, and ultimately the more money they'll make. So that's kind of the flywheel we're trying to build.
Okay, that's awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, for the talk. Really awesome, as always. I've followed Code to Inspire for a while now, just following your work. I'm curious, now that these girls are learning and also obtaining credentials on the platform, I imagine you might have also some sort of identity for these women. Although they are not actually able to access any services and infrastructure within Afghanistan due to various reasons, not bound to just Taliban intervention, if you're able to export this identity or basically build up this identity such that it can actually interoperate with international services, would you plan to actually open up something of this sort where you enable this identity so that these folks can actually get access to other international open markets, be it job markets, investment platforms, and so on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Shruti. So it's kind of like prior to my talk, there was a talk about the network state and crossing borders and so on. And organizing in different ways. And I think the extent to which you can establish your identity on-chain, and we were just talking about this, it's like you have your canonical identity, you have your persona constructs, okay? And these persona constructs can describe you in different contexts, and those persona constructs have attributes, and then those attributes have attestations, and now you have this like constellation of attributes and attestations that form identity, and the extent to which you can selectively disclose that information. And so I can imagine a scenario where you use something like EAS to issue the attestations. We obviously have to be very mindful of this malicious state actor, kind of triangulating information about someone's identity. So ZK is going to be a really important part of that. But then to your point, which I think is a brilliant, that's exactly what we're trying to do in the background, which is to say, bring in international organizations, international businesses, international service providers, and recognize these these on-chain identities in order to, for example, if you could imagine a girl having a sufficient number of attestations and a strong reputation, like getting a virtual Revolut account, right? Through their, I don't know, MetaMask wallet or something, or I guess that'd be MasterCard or whatever the case is. So that would be kind of the next step. And then what we could do there is basically entirely circumvent the interventions of the Taliban effectively. And then that could extend out to many other services as well. But yes, I think on-chain identity kind of like holds the key to that. But we have to be very careful about, well, first of all, selective disclosure, and then the extent to which we can shield certain information. You know, but that would be an interesting way to do it, basically. All right, thank you very much.